So Sarah's stepping in, and she has let us know that we officially have a quorum, so we can get started with business. Sarah? So the first thing we'll do before we review and approve prior meeting minutes is just, I want to make you aware of a date change. We're well off, but so you're well into planning your travel plans. There was a date change for the winter meeting. In the spring, we had tried to schedule out an entire year, knowing that we might have to make some adjustments. So the winter meeting will be February 6th. It is on the ELC agenda summer. You scroll all the way to the very last page, you can get a look at where we're planning on meeting up until summer 2020 with the dates. February 6th for winter. As a reminder, that's a one-day regional meeting. You'll meet with your region, and it'll be up to the regional sites to organize that meeting. And the expectation there is that work groups will meet together using Zoom prior to that meeting. Any questions about that before moving on? Excellent, you're making this easy. Okay, let's review and approve the prior meeting minutes. We'll need a vote for this, so please take 3 to 4 minutes to go over the meeting minutes from last time. They are linked in the agenda, and I will come back in 3 or 4 minutes and we'll have a vote.
Most likely we're in the library. Quiet. Yeah, I'm feeling
Or a Word doc.
Oh, thanks, social work. Would that be it always?
Okay. Do I have anyone moving to approve the meeting minute notes? That tells me we still need a minute or two. That's fine. How are we doing for time? More time to review? I see one, we're good. And a lot of still reading. Okay, a couple more minutes. As I was wondering if that might be the case. Yeah, I'm glad you called it out. Okay, one more minute.
You sound like my mom.
I'm going to take that as a compliment. All right. I sound like Alyssa's parents. Okay, we've got a motion to approve. Second. All in favor? Opposed? Abstain? Oh, sorry, I went fast. Yeah. Thank you, Mark. Okay, meeting minutes are approved. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is going to be an introduction of new members as well as any guests from the instructional design retreat. So what I'd like to start with is new ELC members. Do we have any new ELC members who have not been here before? If so, who are you? Looks like welcome. Thank you for being here. We hope you enjoy your time with us. Good. Yes, indeed. Yeah, welcome. Anyone else?
Ben Mara from Chair-ChairElect. I think this, I've been to a regional ELC meeting. So I will be taking on normally it would be me signing up for. And then yeah.
Great. Welcome, Ben. Thank you. Any other? Go ahead.
Sarah Mitchell. Sorry. I just happened to stumble across her a couple of days ago. Second day on the top. So she's going to be doing
Okay.
reach out to her and talk to her.
Did it sound like she might join us in person or via Zoom?
I did let her know about Zoom, but I imagine she's just starting.
Yes. Thank you. Okay, do we have any other new ELC members? Okay, great. I know we have at least 2 people here that aren't official ELC members but are from the instructional design retreat. I know there's 2 for sure because they're from Spokane, but there may be others. I'd like them to introduce themselves. So we'll start with the Spokane folks since I know they're here. Holly and Ben, would you please introduce yourselves? I love that team effort. Are there any other guests joining us from the instructional design retreat?
David Steele from CDC.
Welcome. Thanks for joining us. Anyone else? Okay, it's a pretty small group this time. All right. That's always the case. That's always the case. Okay, we'll move then. Oh, thank you for asking.
Liz and Zach.
Liz and Zach. Great. Okay. Yes.
Hi, I'm Mary Virtual. I'm Vice President for Instruction from Olympic College. And I am liaison to the ELC, part of the Instruction Commission, the ELC, for the
Welcome, Mary. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
And Todd Waters, instructional designer from Washington, Colorado.
Right. So are you an official ELC member?
I don't know.
Well, all right. Because I kind of just thought you were. Okay. All right. Great. Thanks. Thanks for being here.
As soon as I'm told,
Mark, I saw your hand. Perfect. Perfect. Thank you. Okay, let's move into the next item. Thank you to our guests for being here. We're going to do some college updates. And so for the sake of time, we're replacing the old 1, 2, 3, 4. Rather than having every single college provide an update, we're going to ask for volunteers that have updates they'd like to share that they feel meaningful to the rest of us. And then I have already randomly selected 3 colleges that I will call on that will also be giving updates. So how we will begin is asking for volunteers to share any updates from their colleges. Yes, please do.
And so Gary Marshall, he was our he is ended the contract with the local faculty members, and now we're going to for the service to make it more fun. And so we are currently actively
You're not allowed to talk to any from Spokane.
I also have a
Thank you for being here. Absolutely. Chris, are the Zoom people able to hear the tables okay? No complaints? Yeah, I just want to make sure we're good.
Yeah.
They might be able to find anyway, but I was checking. Yeah.
I can hear the tables. Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Turn the mic.
So just a reminder to the tables, when you talk, please make sure you turn your microphone on so our folks joining via Zoom can hear. Okay. Any other college updates, volunteers? Ann.
Hi, I'm Ann from Shoreline, and I'm just going to piggyback on what you said. We're going to be having an instructional designer recruitment coming out soon. So
It is open.
Jeff Ione, who was at our college, is now at the U, and so we'll be looking for a instructional designer. We also have a new VP for student learning. Philip King comes to us from California, and I think online learning is going to take be a higher priority at our college again now with him coming on board. Also, our technology support services, our IT area now, at least temporarily, reports to me, and so we've kind of realigned that, and CTC Link as well, and so we're leading that effort of getting CTC Link off.
Because you were a rep for so long.
Exactly. I was the rep to your group and learned a ton, so that's awesome. Yep.
So what is there, one department that's not under?
Ann has all departments. Ben, yes.
Let's see if I can get this mic working. So I bring this up. So we last month launched Bridge, or got Bridge, which is the employee sort of side of Canvas. And I bring this up, I think it's great. I think it's expensive, but it's great. What it includes is ARC. So ARC comes with Bridge. It's packaged together, or what used to be ARC and is now Canvas Studio, right? Ironically, they still haven't renamed it on the Bridge side, so it's a confusing naming system right now. But using that product, I think it's beautiful. It works really well. The way it structures and organizes media is really smart. So anyway, so I just throw it out there as I think this next year we'll start to explore, right? And I'd love to have conversations with everyone about, maybe looking towards Canvas Studio. It's pricey, but are there ways that we can maybe collaborate and get some pricing? So anyway, but if you also want to ask us about Bridge, I can have that conversation too.
What college?
I'm at Pierce College.
Is anyone else exploring Bridge or has Bridge?
We explored it.
Yeah, explored it.
Very expensive.
Yeah.
We did too.
Okay.
Some of us. Which bridge or?
Bridge.
I think it's amazing for staff training.
Yeah.
I wanted the district to also. It's amazing.
Any other volunteers to share?
I just on the phone.
Yes, please do.
Thank you.
So how long has Pierce been using it? Did you just launch it during the summer or?
4 weeks.
4 weeks.
All right. Any other volunteers?
Patrick.
Please.
Is this thing on?
Yeah.
Okay. The first thing I wanted to mention is, unfortunately, you couldn't be here, but Stan Horton is retiring at the end of the month again. But this time, I think it's going to take. So we found a replacement for him, Susan Schreiner, who I hope will be able to attend an upcoming conference soon. She really impressed us with her interview. We had put together a pretty rigorous audition, I guess, where we had asked them to, we gave them a sample online course and asked them to do an evaluation and present on that evaluation. And we were all just very impressed by her. So we're very excited to have her and to welcome her into the group here. For those of you who weren't at the instructional design meeting yesterday, I presented a bit about the RSI 101 course that we developed at Grace Harbor College. And I hesitate to make any bold promises yet, but I'm strongly considering offering a section of that to facilitate for all the folks here, all the e-learning coordinators and instructional designers, at least, I'll have to cap it at some point, but I would love it if you're interested in participating in that course. Your feedback would be really valuable. And of course, you're welcome to steal whatever you'd like from the course. So hopefully it'd be a win-win. Yeah.
Thanks. I appreciate that offer. And also, recommendation to all of you, if you're at dinner tonight, I recommend sitting by Jeremy.
Yeah.
We'll have the best stories, so.
No. Oh, good. Then we can repeat the story.
I got someone who was sitting by you last time. Yeah. Okay.
No, it won't be the same. It's the storyteller.
Martin, I saw you itching over there earlier to share something.
We have pets and like.
Make sure you have your mic with you.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, let's try again. It's the best way to hold it. Is that all right?
Perfect.
Okay, so we've had some nice changes in what we call our Center for Learning Innovation at Olympic College. That's teaching and learning and e-learning.
And we have a new learning management system administrator that's in front of it to input away from student system and new work. And so he's on the team right now. And current office system as well. We also have a lot of summer work happening. We're really excited about. So here at the last gasp for the Title III grant, and this summer we have a lot of funding to do some projects like we want to talk a little bit about what other projects. We've also written help in my favorite.
Okay, here we go. Let's try this. Okay, is that better? Okay, so I've listed out some of the things that we're working on.
I think we've moved beyond notebooks. it's faculty group, then we are advertising. But my office is being closed this weekend, working position OER. And it's really helping the assistant work because we're not just talking about replacing the text. When we get evaluating to instructional design, course design, making sure that the materials are, they do a course map to the outcomes. We're reviewing the rooms first, make sure that the assessments match the level of what the outcome is supposed to be. Even accessibility reviews, and the OER is really just open up the conversation, and do some really great course development. And the impact in the summer is probably reached 500,000 because we have this same faculty coming organic chemistry and physics so well in, math courses, business courses. There's a lot of impact for the work this summer. It's really exciting.
So how did you get that to happen?
They came to me. I have not done anything. At Tacoma.
In other words, you don't want to get
The Tacoma instructional design position is also the OER coordinator. The Olympic instructional design position is also to help faculty with accessibility. So it's not part of my role, but it fits perfectly in course design. So really, I have been too busy to proselytize. They just came to us. They're ready. I also think the CTC Link label makes a huge difference. Olympic is converting to CTC Link February. Faculty know now about the course labeling and are very mindful of wanting to have it labeled. So I think the label brings up a lot of traffic, which is what the students wanted.
Thank you for sharing. And it looks like we might have to play a little bit of musical mics from what I
We
hear.
just switched to the owl, so.
Okay, so we're good? Okay, great.
Oh, the speak up.
Any other volunteers to share something from your college? Yes, please.
I'm at the Relax, has been talked. I'm Pierce College at JBLM. Marty Halstead left JBLM to get a job at Highline, so Mark has to deal with them now. But he was my direct boss, and I would be the permanent person here for the ELC for JBLM. On top of that, the only other thing really is we're switching to Honor Lock for new proctoring software.
Okay.
So we got tired of junk and we finally switched away from RP now to Honor Lock.
And you were at the spring meeting, right?
Yes. No, wait, was I there? I don't remember.
I thought. Okay, thank you. Any other volunteers? Okay, I have one thing I would like to share. Every year, as you know, because I've shared it with you before, Spokane puts on our e-learning academy, and our wonderful instructional designers do a fantastic job of facilitating it. You can see it in the college updates here. But I would like to invite any of you who would like to come join us to the e-learning academy September 10th and 11th in Spokane. Our theme is Universal Design for Learning. We have Dr. Thomas Tobin as our keynote speaker. A lot of really great sessions, many from our faculty plan. We'd love to have you come join us for the e-learning academy. And Ben and Holly are the ones primarily charged with putting it on. Is there anything you'd like to add about the academy that I missed? No. It's great. It's great. Come join us. We have about 95, 96 faculty signed up so far. Last year, I think we had 160 people in attendance. So please come join us. It's a great time of learning and collaborating with each other. Okay. Well, let me go to Mark. Mark, what's happening at Highline?
You mean in terms of my report, or because otherwise I don't know. So on the since Camilla opened the ELC job market, if anyone's interested in being a vice president of instruction, a dean of workforce, a dean of transfer, a vice president of student services, vice president for equity development, equity, diversity, and inclusion. All of those positions are either being created or interim. and we'll be doing searches in the course of the next 8 or 9 months. Left undetermined at the moment is what will happen to the Dean of Other Stuff. Our Dean of Library, E-Learning, Institutional Research, and a few other things is retiring in a week. So, I'll be reporting to Dr. Bacon. And it's possible something might happen with that position. So that's we. In other news, we have a memorandum of agreement that was hammered out in the waning hours of our faculty negotiations last year to look at e-learning and look at course development processes, class caps, pedagogy, what's going on in online classrooms. And so that group met all spring. We basically did a 10-week-long mapping exercise trying to figure out what all the issues were and maybe how they connected a little bit. We've now been charged with moving forward on researching and coming up with policy and procedure. So we have a lot of Highline operates on a folk model, folk wisdom model, or folk tale model of administration, and we've been really trying to document and systematize things a little bit over the last year. So that lens is now turned on. So that's the main thing. And then we've got some fun stuff going on accessibility. Depending on who you ask, since nobody took notes, we have either a token budget or a significant budget with which we can do some interesting things. Our Accessible Tech Committee is looking at doing a campus-wide accessibility audit. So when you look at a settlement agreement, the things that come back are always, you got to have a policy, you got to have a plan, you got to implement that plan, you got to do an audit of your entire campus, and I think there's one more. So we've done everything but the audit. So we're kind of training our eye on that with an eye toward figuring out what we've missed in the first 2 years of our accessibility initiative, and also maybe some feet to the fire.
Thanks for sharing.
You wanted the whole report?
I wanted your highlights.
There you are.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
Jeremy's off the hook because he already volunteered, but Chris, you are not. So.
Sure.
Well, okay. By all means.
So something that I'm very excited about personally, but I don't have anything to really show yet, is we're piloting a new Canvas shell for the fall term with our student services. And the idea there being that we have all these great student services that students don't really know about, just like events on campus. And so in cooperation with student services, we're creating a student services shell that we're going to enroll every student at our college in. And that will give them the ability to add updates for events and important days like W Day on the calendar, to send out messages and announcements about similar important events and information, and to host any resources that students should have regular access to, like drop forums or whatever other resources that should be regularly available. Our students are really in campus, right? If there's a way that you can reach them, campus is the way to do that. So we're trying to kind of facilitate better connection with our student services and other resources for students through campus. So I'm excited to see how that will go.
I'd love to talk to you more about that. That's something Spokane Falls Community College is engaged in, something Holly's been working on. So we'll have to talk more.
Yeah.
Sarah, I think I saw you.
I have a follow-up question. What if students want to opt out? Do you remove them from the course, or do you not allow opting out?
That is not a question that we have broached yet. So that's good.
Yeah, because our ASLCC created a course, and we had a lot of students asking to opt out because they didn't want to know about the events. So managing the enrollment became a little difficult. So if you discover how to manage the enrollment, I would love to hear that. So I would
We're a very
know.
small college, so probably at our scale, it won't be a big issue to probably.
Okay.
But,
Yeah, I'm curious. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Go ahead, Jerry.
So we've actually been, so that's interesting. That sort of gives me some ideas. we've actually had a class for all students since WebCT days, so it's been a long time, you know. So WebCT, age-old, Canvas now, it's run by the ASCBC, so it's not as comprehensive, but it sort of gives me some ideas. We want to expand that. Of course, ASCBC might not be so happy about that, but we enroll all the students. Used to be that I didn't bother to get rid of them, and so we would get students who left complaining, why am I still getting emails from CBC? So now pretty much every quarter I flush it out and just put in the current students, and really we don't get hardly any complaints from students. So they try to limit their messages to 3 a week, which actually the students do complain about their email boxes filling up, but they don't actually translate into I want to get out of this Canvas class. So the idea of expanding it beyond that is an interesting idea.
We've also had a few other groups that have created classes for like Work First and stuff like that. Where they were having a hard time reaching their students, and or also some of the ones that have grants and stuff like that they need to give out. They literally had so many students contact them within the first week. We had to take down their announcement, their student groups that they had. So they were reaching a lot more people on Canvas than they were reaching via email and stuff like that.
That's great to hear. Actually, our workforce program, we were the very first ones to get us the resources to put in the shelf. They were very excited about that opportunity.
Yeah, they paid a lot more attention.
Thank you for sharing that work.
Yeah, I'm one of those courses where all students are enrolled. Well, student resources, and our big focus is on connecting students to like a whole student, connecting resources for like our housing program, food, legal help. We have food, like food pantries, so stuff at TCC, stuff in Pierce County, stuff in Tacoma, so local stuff, as well as like how to get low-cost internet, low-cost computers. So access advising on campus and those other resources. So I originally had just taken everybody and just shoved them in there, enrolled them. It was like, I think it was 130,000 accounts, which I found out breaks a course. Like it doesn't even load anymore. So now we just do current students. But I'm really explicit about not putting announcements in there. I'll modify the homepage so if people come in to highlight things, but I don't know, I'm really specific with announcements that we send out so that people actually pay attention if I keep a low quantity.
That's how I've had to say no to so many announcements.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I have actually asked them not to use announcements, to only use messages. If they have things, keep those to no more than 3 a week. But I feel similarly about announcements. They just sort of get tuned out.
Chris, do you manage that? Does you manage that?
One of our I co-created it with one of our navigators, and actually one of our faculty and we are librarian as well. We just got together and we're like, hey, we should try and connect students to these resources in a better way. And so we worked on it together. And for the last 2 summers, she has one word study, and that person's job is to vet resources, call the phone numbers, check the websites, make sure everything's updated and current. Because we're connecting to city and county and local resources with nonprofit. Like a nonprofit lost their funding, so they didn't exist anymore, so we took off the page. So yeah, somebody keeps on top of that, and then I keep on top of the technology pages, and so we split that workload.
Collaboration.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, Chris, why don't you give us an update from Tacoma in general?
Oh, I've been I got a new boss coming. I got a new provost. So excited about that. We got CTC Link update coming in October.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, so we'll have 4 days of downtime twice in a row in a week. Yeah.
4 days.
Yeah, because it's Thursday through Monday, and that's the update. And then the following week, Thursday through Monday, is bringing on Clark and the state board.
Bringing what?
Bringing on Clark and the state board. Yeah, so we're gonna do the update first. So when everybody's brought on, they're all brought on the updated version. We're not all coming on and then later updating. There's lots of discussion about that, but that's how it's gonna roll out. So, yeah.
Everything down?
Just CTC Link.
So Canvas will stay out.
Yeah. Just
I know you make.
just our central core.
We're not in this department.
Nobody uses it.
Only 4 days, rookie.
Yeah. I'm just, I feel, yes, I'm glad I'm not based. Yeah. No, yeah, we got a new strategic plan rolling out, which I've been heavily involved in for over a year. I'm excited to finally finish it.
Okay, thank you for sharing. Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, I just want to talk about we're doing some really exciting things in our open education steering group. So all the work that Christopher's done in getting this textbook adoption policy passed up the shared governance chain at the college. Now that we finally have that in place, we get to do the fun work of creating a process that matches that policy. So we've actually had some really successful working meetings. We have our open education steering group, which includes representatives from the library, e-learning, and the bookstore. And those are the 3 primary groups. We are playing with the idea of adding student representation because our students have recently been expressing interest in being more involved in the OER movement.
No faculty?
Well, we do have.
Our OER librarian is faculty.
I'm also faculty, so. Yeah.
Library, bookstore, and what?
I'm sorry?
Library, bookstore, and?
E-learning.
E-learning, yeah. So in addition to the textbook adoption process, we are looking at options. Well, we're implementing a beta test of Pressbooks in order to have like a central digital repository for OER texts that our faculty are creating, which is we're finding an increased demand for. We are also exploring print-on-demand options, which has sort of been a sticky wicket that we've been hacking away at since I've been in this role, but we've recently had some promising conversations. Where the money is going to come from is not so clear yet, but our bookstore has some really innovative ideas about adding print-on-demand services to the bookstore and actually like featuring it like prominently and very visibly for students and sort of using this as a way to kind of combat this inclusive access models that publishers are doing where they're making an end run around the bookstore in order to sell licenses directly to students, and which destroys their resale market. So we're really excited. We think this sort of interdepartmental collaboration is going to hopefully produce some innovative solutions that will help sustain our bookstore in these changing times.
Thank you. So that section concludes, we're right on time, that concludes our college updates. Thanks for trying something new. That was a little bit different than our standard 1, 2, 3, 4. Something Sarah and I had talked about during the spring meeting, I believe. And the idea was that there's a lot of value in hearing what the other schools were doing, but there wasn't so much engagement, and we were playing kind of the pass the mic. It was usually a prime opportunity to check email. So what we wanted to do was still provide a space for those conversations to happen, and I really like what I saw in terms of questions being asked, and I know now I need to talk to Jeremy and those types of things. So that's kind of what we tried to do there, but also we still wanted folks to be engaged, so that was the idea behind, hey, if you have something big to share, share it, but we're also going to call on some folks to share that way we're not passive. So we'll keep doing that. If you like it, I'd like for you to just maybe during the breaks come check in with me, and I'd love your feedback on it. We'll move right into the next item. I don't see Kathy here, so I'm going to put Alyssa on the spot. And Alyssa, you can put others on the spot if you would like. But would you mind giving us a debrief on the great activities we had yesterday?
So the instructional design retreat I thought went pretty well. Everybody seemed engaged. We had an interesting book we worked on. We looked at a leadership framework called well, I'm not going to tell you the name of the book. There were 5 practices of exemplary leadership, and we talked about what those were, and then we spent the second half of the day applying those to different instructional design situations and problems that we might encounter in our work. So then we turned the group loose on a worksheet for thinking about how they might be able to improve on their leadership over the next year. So, was that about some of that?
Yeah.
Ben, Holly, anybody else that was there? Todd? Anybody want to add anything?
Did you mention that we had pretty robust conversation around RSI?
We did have a good conversation around RSI because we used RSI as an example of an instructional design issue that we might all encounter. So we did a little bit of contextual work beforehand just to get everybody up to speed to make sure we all knew that there wasn't really a definition, but that there is like an interpretation of what it means. And then we had a great panel. They talked about, we had Jeremy, we had Patrick, we had Kathy, and we had Dale, and they all talked about work they were doing with RSI on their campuses. Some reactionary due to audits, others more proactive, but I would say reacting to audits of others, but being proactive at their own campuses. So I thought that was a great discussion. And then we opened it up with some scenarios to just kind of, give it a broader idea of, different problems we might encounter.
Right.
Yeah. But the RSI discussion I thought was good. Although there were some points where I thought people might fall asleep, so hey, now come on back, we're gonna start talking about sports. But no, I know it was good.
Yeah,
We had good food.
And
It
some
was
great
awesome
sharing.
Lunch
host.
was delicious.
The sharing was great.
And the sharing at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
it
there's
was-
opportunities to share more.
Yeah.
We thanked the ELC several times for providing us lunch. We thanked Mark for providing us books.
Oh, yeah.
And so, yeah, it was all good.
Great. Thank you. Anyone else that was at the instructional design retreat want to share anything about it? Reflections? Feedback? Mark?
What was the name of the book?
I don't.
Learning leadership.
Yeah. Learning leadership. Who's Reisner and
Yeah, that's.
Oh, Jeremy has
that's
it, yeah.
And if you want to sign, Alyssa will sign it.
Oh, yeah, I did do a book signing, so David will have to show you his, it says with love, SBC.
Chrissy?
With this being our third annual, there's no question, it improves so much every year. Like it's just getting better and better and better. It was a really great day. I also still, then as a minor critique thing, as instructional designers who all have a lot on our plates, we're all still creating, we're too many situations where we're creating 32 versions of stuff. Where if we had the funding to maybe get together more often and say, let's sit and design this together. And at the end of the day, it's going to be done and it's going to be shared with everyone. All the work I saw yesterday was beautiful and it was all wonderful, but we saw a whole bunch of different forces on our side that we've all individually put a lot of work into instead of collaborating and doing that together. So I still want us to keep thinking about when and where, maybe in regional groups that tackle that we all have we have similar skill sets and we have areas of expertise. And like when I started working on RSI, I knew Ben's was a lot better than mine. And I said, Ben, will you share that with me and I'll share with you OER stuff. And I think we should tap into our skill sets and do more sharing with them. Absolutely.
I think that's a great suggestion. I think we could use the course as a kind of a jumping off platform for maybe starting that. I hear what you're saying about meeting more often, but at least utilizing perhaps Zoom and making like a instructional designers group to collaborate in those types of projects.
Yeah, we can meet online.
I think that's a great idea. Yeah, I think I saw your hand.
I just gave a big thumbs up.
Thumbs up. Thank you. Thanks for the suggestion. Anything else from the instructional design retreat? Okay, great. I enjoyed it. So next on our list is council and commission reports. And first up is Sarah.
So I have bad news. I didn't attend the instruction commission, and we didn't have anybody else that could attend in my place either. So we missed the summer meeting, but Mary is here. And were you at the instruction commission?
I was, as was Patrick.
Awesome.
It wasn't at the summer meeting, right?
No, the summer
which
meeting.
are you talking about?
The summer meeting, the one in July.
Oh, I was at the
Yeah. And I was thinking you could give an update. I don't know if you have that later on the agenda.
No, I could give an update on
the goals meeting.
Correct.
Yes, yeah.
But
the
do
retreat.
we want to? You have maybe Mary anything to share from the July?
Yeah, the one in July.
Gosh, I can hardly remember.
Yeah.
Well, no, wait a minute. I do have something to share because we had a presentation in the morning from Deb Bragg and Joe Lott about equity-minded practices. I thought it was quite good. Was anybody else in this room there at that meeting? And so, you know, that's going to be a big focus, I think, for both starting even with the president's group down to all the commissions and councils. We're really going to be doing a lot of work around just framing everything that we do around equity, diversity, and inclusion. And so I thought it was it was a joint meeting, actually, this summer meeting with Student Services Commission and Instruction Commission and representatives from the various councils. And I can't remember, Mark, were you there? Anyway, I thought it was a really great day, and it was just the one day that we had the overlap, and then the next day Instruction Commission was mainly business stuff and talking about climate change things in the afternoon. But I do think if we share from this week's meeting that was on Monday about how the councils will be framing all of their work through that lens of you know, equity-minded practices and thinking about the work that you have on your work plan and how it will connect to, I think one good thing that came out, am I going too much into?
Not at all, no, not at all.
Okay, one good thing that I think came out of the discussion on Monday, then, because the Instruction Commission is still crafting their work plan, and then I know most of the councils were meeting this week and working on their work plans and all of that. So we're deciding that we need more ways to communicate, to make sure that the communication is flowing very well between the councils and the commissions. And so I think that's an area that we can all really improve on, and we will have a meeting that will be a joint meeting, at least for Instruction Commission, the council representatives and the liaison, before everybody starts their fall meetings, just so we can really connect the dots of what is the work that everybody's working on and how it kind of rolls up to the bigger goals. And really our focus is going to be on, instead of having, at least for the commission, instead of having a standalone goal on equity, diversity, inclusion, equity-minded practices, that it will be infused in everything we do. And we did also talk about maybe, because our work plans have been sometimes a little disjointed just because we haven't figured out the communication flow very well. So I think if we improve that, and we're talking about an Instruction Commission making a longer, like maybe have a 3-year plan, because it feels like we have our work plan for the year, we get started in the fall, and everybody's super, super busy. And with 3 meetings, it's kind of hard to really feel like we're making progress. So if we have a longer, give ourselves more time to do some things, and then keep the communication flow going better. I just myself, you know, I've worked with the ELC and LLC for a couple of years now, but it's always a little bit changing because some groups have their past chair go. I find it a little hard to figure out who I'm supposed to be talking to as a committee chair in the Instruction Commission. So we're just really talking about how we just connect all the dots between the work that we're all doing and how can we get, you know, better, I think, impact through our work plans. So that's just a whole lot of confusion. I probably didn't shed any light on anything, but I know there's a document here that Patrick said we got from the work Monday. I had to leave and only stayed for half of the meeting. The commission and some of the state board folks stayed a little longer and worked on more of the work plan. And I think you said that it did come out from Charlie. I just haven't looked for it yet. So.
Yes, we have a draft.
Oh, there is. And so maybe there's a point where I could kind of share that and then some other comments on that.
I was gonna ask, was the presentation from Joe Lott?
Yes. Yes.
I have that slide deck if you want.
That would be great. I think it'd be great to share that. The state board actually itself has come up with a statement, vision statement, an equity vision statement. And it is, I assume, going to be shared out broadly with all commissions and councils and with the president's group. And I think we were pretty well encouraged to do that in all of our groups. So all the commissions and councils come up with their own sort of I don't know, or how it connects to the overall vision. Maybe it's I don't know what we call it, a vision, a mission, or what exactly, but a statement about equity that can help us to frame our work and then see how it connects to the big picture of the whole system. So just thinking about the system and what we can do. It's always, like Christy, I think, said, we're doing things sometimes 34 different ways. And it's always nice when we can get a lot of impact by coordination, but it's hard, because we're all so spread out and also busy and have different timetables for doing things. So that was a lot of rambling.
No, actually, that was great. Your takeaways were the ones I was gonna say. I think we owe a great deal of gratitude to Sarah and Mark, because when we met in the spring, we kind of set ourselves up for this meeting in terms of creating a work plan. And all of our conversations were centered around that equity piece. And I was there on Monday. I got to kind of report out that we'd already had these conversations. We're not done with our work plan yet, but what we've decided to do is to have a work group focused on equity, but also have each group intentionally think about how they're serving equitable outcomes. And so I feel like in terms of aligning to IC, we're well on the way. Tomorrow, and Mary, will you be joining us tomorrow?
Not tomorrow.
Okay. Tomorrow we'll refine our work plan for the year, and we have the draft of the IC work plan, and so we can go along with that. And the other thing I was really encouraged by that meeting was really just echoing what Mary said. It sounded like there was going to be a lot more pathways to collaboration between IC and the councils that report up. I know in the past we've had maybe a lack of clarity around, hey, what exactly is the expectation? Are we completing the deliverables we should be completing? Is our plan aligning? And I saw a lot of opportunities, I think, that the IC had recognized. So I left Monday's meeting at IC very optimistic about that. Any other questions regarding IC, especially while we have Mary here? Yes.
Just a note, I went to go to the continuing ed council, and I can give an update when we get to that, but I think we had an update from Nate Humphreys, I think, from the state board, that was him, the new workforce person. And I thought he said that the WAC group, the president's group, was going to like a 2-year plan for some of the same reasons, which makes a lot of sense.
It would be really cool if we could all get on the same cycle for the planning. And if it all matched. I know that there were still some groups that were talking about 2-year then versus a 3-year and so on. And I don't know, but I think there's a lot of opportunities for alignment that way. And I think we'll be getting some direction from the president's group on certain things, but definitely, everything that we're all doing is all about all students. And so I think that makes so much sense if we can really coordinate and get more bang for our efforts.
To me, a lot of our projects are pretty large in scope, but having more than 1 year would significantly
it's hard to make progress.
And I mean, that's something I think we can talk about tomorrow. I'm kind of the opinion that we've already got a pretty firm draft for a 1-year plan. So I'm kind of thinking perhaps the next year we do keep it a 1 year, but I think something to talk about is expanding to a 2 or 3 year. And we'd love to be in alignment with everyone. So I don't know if that's 2 or 3 or what that looks like, but yeah, thank you for mentioning that. Is there another hand? I can't tell. Nope. Any other questions? IC related questions, especially with Mary here? Okay, thank you. Let's move on to, we're going to skip LLC because those folks are next door and we'll be meeting with them this afternoon. Tim did send their spring meeting minutes and those are linked in the agenda so you can see those. And I'm not sure, is Brandy online for an ITC update? I think she's on vacation. I think she's on vacation now that I remember. Yeah. Does anyone, can anyone provide an ITC update? Getting a lot of eyeballs.
We had our meeting in Walla Walla, and we had a data summit. So we invited developers and DDAs. It was spectacular. We tried to have that before at Bellevue, if somebody would want to remember that, and it didn't go very well. So we were trying to just work on some data governance, and the state board, Carmen and the data group were there with us. So it was an interesting meeting around that. I'm trying to think during our meeting, was there anything exciting? We had updates about CTC Link, did you all get those? I don't think, it was only in July, right?
Anything for CTC Link that you want to share?
No, not everyone in the room will hear
Yeah.
what's going on.
Really?
Yeah.
Let me think about that, and I'll come back to you.
Sure.
Let me just pull up our agenda.
Absolutely, we can ask again. So ITC is Information Technology Commission, correct?
Yep.
And who's on that?
All of the leaders of IT at the colleges, one member from every college, and then sometimes they have a second.
Thanks. Yeah, I realized that when I was kind of stepping into this role, we threw out all these acronyms and I was just guilty of that myself. They never explained them, so for new folks, like, what are we talking about? And Mary, can you tell us what IC is?
What I see?
Yeah, what is IC?
Oh, it's stands for Inspection Commission. I thought, whoa, is this a trick question? So it is the vice presidents of instruction at all of the community and technical colleges.
And it's the commission our council reports up to.
And you know, that's really a good thing to bring up because we talked about that a little bit on Monday. There's a lot of confusion about all of our kind of our structure in the system and who's what and what relates to what. And I think really the more we talked about it, we realized, well, you guys have been a leader because you've been meeting. It's been a couple of years now, right, that you've been meeting with LLC. But there's a lot of other groups that just in the conversation, there was ATC, Holly from, I forget where Holly was from, that ATC is meeting, has a need to meet with the BLC, for example, because they're all about articulation and transfer. And then sometimes in our own system, we have problems transferring our students between our programs, our associate degree programs and our applied baccalaureate programs, for example. So those two groups should be talking. So it'd be kind of cool to see a grid that showed all of the commissions and councils and how all they relate to each other. And I know at my college, well, I don't know about you guys, but sometimes we have silos. And so, you know, just as an example, we work in the instruction silo, not always so well with the student services silo. And so that's maybe true across the whole system. But it wouldn't, and so we have been meeting jointly, the instruction commission, the student services commission, and that was what our July meeting was. That was at Grace Harbor. But if you can see the whole visual of all the committees and councils, there's a lot of reason for all of these different committees and councils to be networking and connecting with one another so we can be more like a system and have bigger impact on students when we do things. And just that idea that I think we realized that a little bit on Monday, there's a lot of connections that we have to just keep making so that we can advance the things we're trying to make improvements for students further.
Yeah, and I think that's especially important as some of the councils welcome new leadership that maybe haven't been in the system so long, so not even familiar with the existing structure.
Exactly, right. And we do have people coming, and even in the instruction commission, I've been on the instruction commission for about 10 years, but there's so many new faces, and maybe you see that too, even here in this group, constantly new faces and people coming from outside of the system of Washington who don't have some of the same things going that we do or have different things. So it's confusing. It's the constant confusion, so we have to keep the communication going.
Thank you for letting me put you on the spot. Appreciate that. Mark.
So that discussion about governance structure and the way it works used to be a feature of the new ELC session when at the meetings at the state board ones. You know, now that you don't do that anymore, I wonder if it'd be worthwhile to do a lighter weight version of that. You know, I could actually do that. Show you the chart, show you the governance structure, look at the active task forces and cross-functional committees that work. Hard enough for me to keep up to. It's probably useful for me to give you guys 20 minutes on that at some point at a meeting sometime. I'm happy to do that anytime.
Yeah, I think having an update on that would be good.
We used to have one fall or winter, right?
Sure.
So
Yeah.
maybe that would be.
I think the bigger challenge with that is, so I remember because I went to that and it was just for new people.
Yeah.
That session. So I think that's one of the challenges having in this meeting is many people already know. But I mean, maybe if there was an online resource that people could look at.
Well, the state board website is actually an
There is
online
a-
resource.
Does it show it?
It's all over.
So maybe the ELC just needs to do a better job of showing that off and being transparent about that.
Especially for new members.
Yeah, especially for new members.
Yeah, the value of that, I think, was, I mean, to Mary's point, was that we tried to organize it so that state board directors would get out and say, I'm the workforce director, this is what I do, I'm the basic ed director. I thought that was useful for people, whether they were new or not. to speak up.
That's true.
We seldom even know in our own agency what everybody's doing, much less expecting people in the system to know what the key initiatives of every piece are. And again, to Mary's point, your point, now that WAC has kind of introduced this this equity umbrella over all the work of all the commissions and therefore all the councils, it may be it'd be important to refresh that at some point. Think about that.
I think that'd be valuable.
And Patrick, even when the orientation that you're talking about, which was either fall or before the fall meeting or winter meeting, whichever one is at SBCTC, even though that was an orientation for newbies, a lot of us oldies would go to it about every few years, 3, 4, 5. I've probably been to at least 4 of them in my tenure here, 20-year tenure here, just because there are new faces, there are new kinds of organizational, outreach and stuff like that, and it just helped to refresh my memory to go again. So I just personally would think it'd be very valuable.
Okay.
If we could include that.
Yeah.
For what it's worth.
Thank you. And would you mind first telling us what CEC is and then giving us an update?
That's great. Yes, again, Anne Furline. I attend the Continuing Education Council, CAC. I'm working with continuing ed at our college now. And so we met in May in Spokane, and like one of the things that this group might be of interest for this group is the CTC link portion for the module for continuing education. There is an apparent successful vendor, Campus CE, which some colleges, some of you use that at your college. They're still negotiating with them though. It's been a negotiation. They're working on a 5-year contract, and they're working on cost. So I don't think, do you know, because Abraham, I know they're working with Abraham.
Well, I was involved. This is something that normally this kind of RFP, because this is a core technology that's going to have deep integration meetings. It's going to have deep integration with CPC, and so there were issues with that. This actually happened before the CPC steering committee formed. So Steve and I and some state board people helped in fact put together the business requirements, which was slightly chaotic, but I think we ended up with a good list. What I think is happening with the negotiations is that since there are already 16 colleges on Campus CE with 16 different pricing structures because of the way that company functions, which I find a little sketchy, I don't mind telling you, I think there's difficulty pulling Campus CE who will be willing to offer one consistent pricing structure across the whole system. That's the last step they have.
That sounds sort of like Blackboard.
Yeah.
That's the way
They're
Blackboard.
like, well, I was told even before the RFP that they were offering different, not just pricing structures, but pricing methodologies to different colleges. And so it's tough when you start trying to standardize the system like a contract. I would imagine that's what's going on.
That's what's going on. Some colleges pay a ton for Campus CE and some pay a lot less. And
What
so
is the product?
Campus CE, which I believe
You have to worry about it.
was a spin-off of something that was created originally at Bellevue. Yeah. So it integrated with the HP, and I personally have worked with that company.
I was gonna say, I would say this, but don't put it.
Yeah.
Is that this particular vendor is very difficult because they're working with all of us as 34 colleges, charging us different fees, giving us different versioning, giving us different integration to the same system at state board.
Yeah.
It's natural for all of us as a core technology to say, no, we're all gonna have the same, we're all gonna pay the same, we're all gonna get the same versioning, because that's what you do, right? And they're really pushing back.
That was exactly the same thing with Blackboard. I mean, they had individual contracts and they charged each college for integration with the HP and they didn't want to give that up for an overall contract.
Well, the world of core technologies, what core technology is defined as being within the project. And whenever I say the project, I mean CPC. If it's within the project, you can't have that kind of inconsistency. Everything has to be managed the same way as you all have suffered or will suffer. You have to have standardized configurations and things. But a lot of, you have 16 colleges on this thing already. They've had custom configurations for years and years and years. And so you're only asking the vendor to standardize the contract. You're asking colleges to give up features that they may have developed over time and to work with SMS or to work with a standalone or to work however they want. And compound that with the idea that this is possibly an optional use contract in a way that State Board IT is not used. State Board typically doesn't do optional use contracts the way we do, the way State Board EdCap does. There's a lot of issues, and I think everybody is startled. The other odd feature of the tech thing in the campus CEPs was that price ended up being a feature of the RFP itself, which I haven't seen before, and I think it's a terrible idea. when you're evaluating functionality, business requirements, and you say, oh, and by the way, it's cheaper. I think that's asking for the situation we're in right now.
I told them at my commission, again, don't write this in the minutes. Let the contract fail, right? Do it again. There's other vendors out there that can help us and that would work with us as a system.
But I mean, the issue with that is, again, 16 colleges on campus CE, and if you adopt another solution, is there going to be any momentum for a system solution at all?
We use it, we'll try it. Hey, I know our CE guys working on this. He feels the same way.
Anyway, it's all very wonky. And it hasn't been one of the easier core technology RFPs that the project is had to manage.
So that's a couple other things. We've been going over coding, and we've had some folks from the state board come out and do some training on how to code, because colleges code continuing ed differently, and like trying to get our heads around being on the same page of how to do that. That's been helpful. We had a presentation from Salesforce, the software Salesforce. They came out, did a demo. I was asked to be the technology officer. So that, I didn't realize that means I'm on the executive board for tech now. But, because I kind of just played that role automatically anyway, when I was at the meetings to help. So.
I don't know what that's like.
Well, when there's a problem, I just go and fix it. So, and just one other thing, this group does what's hot, what's not. So they go around and talk about, in terms of continuing ed programming, what's hot, what's not at their college. And it's kind of like our around the table. And they're kind of changing it from every college having to do it to kind of like what you did this meeting, where you don't just go with have to listen to every single college.
Sure. The Salesforce demo, is that just a pitch for CRM? Or?
Yeah, and it, I think it didn't play that well because it was more of a sales pitch. Yeah.
I asked as Spokane does not have one, and is just starting to look into it. In fact, even hired a person in almost a project management position to look into the CRM. So
yeah.
We're looking at getting a CRM.
Okay.
Right.
To come as well.
Yeah.
Thanks, Anna. Appreciate it.
I have if you want the IT commission, I have found the agenda.
That'd be fantastic.
So I spoke a little bit about, we brought all the data people together. One of the reasons we were working on that is we had Spokane give us a presentation because of them being involved in the PeopleSoft instance link. And so there was a lot of discussion around data governance and trying to establish common table names and fields. I won't get into all the technology, but try to be consistent with how we have our information across the system. It's been a great push from doing that. We also had Kurt Nettle from the State Board to come in and talk with us about the 25 Live, that's scheduling. They have a new release coming out, and that's coming in November. And so it's going to happen automatically. So you want to make sure you're getting involved in that and getting it updated if you use it. They also brought in a new product. It's called X25. It does some analytics. And we asked her if he could get a quote or a price for us as a system. How much would that cost? We're not sure we're interested in it yet, but that's the product that adds on to 25 Live. So 25 Live does your calendar and scheduling and various things. And the X25 does more analysis and utilization, and it's kind of the behind the scenes tool. So we don't have that now as a state. Ken is from the state board, is working on Ken Need, is working on some technology kind of things. In general, we're trying to find maybe a tool for multi-factor authentication, so 2 pieces of information to help you log in securely. Single sign-on, so one, everybody understands. So he's been looking at some stuff for the state, and he brought a couple of vendors, products, and solutions for us to look at. No decision was made. We have a security council that reports underneath the IT commission. And that security council has been doing some work on some of those broad technologies, and they're feeling we're a little ways out on them still, maybe 2 years as a system. So there's still some work going on there.
Is that a work group of ITC or a different?
It's a council, I think it's a council. It's under us. Okay. Under IT. So Ray Gardner had some really good things to come and tell us about. We've been trying to work on the web transaction server. We process and take credit cards. A lot of us have been going through PCI audits and IT audits. And so the state board is going to do some amazing updates. They're going to change the PIN to be alphanumeric. It's not just going to be numbers. They're going to increase the length of that from 8 to 10. There was some discussion around how long it should be. Should it be 12? So there's going to be an extension of the field length. And that they're also going to do some back-end coding information to make sure that that service doesn't sit on our web server, that it actually goes from the state board out to CyberSource, who processes our credit card. Right now, by it coming back to the colleges, it brings our equipment into PCI scope, and we don't want that. So they're doing an amazing update, which we never thought could happen, so it's awesome for the team. Sure.
So, do you have any updates on the state of the Zoom contract?
Yeah, I do. Actually, that was another one in here. I don't know how much, is this good?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to take notes.
So the Zoom is of interest of everything. I know we have Mark Carbon on the agenda for that, but by all means, please.
Zoom, yes.
Well, he can do a better job talking about that than me.
We have you right now.
Okay. So what they're doing is the Zoom current contractors are going out to get a updated vendor reseller. We're still keeping Zoom. So what that means is, I hope it hasn't changed since July, that they're just going to select a new reseller and everything should be business as usual as we have now. We're not using all the licenses that we've all been assigned. If there's negotiation with price on the new reseller that sells Zoom to the state, they may come and take some of our licensing away, but they said there's so much not being used out there that we shouldn't even feel it. That's generally what we got. Hopefully that's what he says too.
Does that mean that we don't go through the K-20?
No, they'll get a new contract. Really, people thought that they were going to get a new tool.
Yeah.
They're not getting a new tool. They're going to still use Zoom. They're just getting a new person to buy it from, a reseller.
Okay.
And it'll be a new price structure.
The way it got explained to me, it made some sense, was the whatever contracting mechanism K-20 used, they can't continue to use. Remember all the months we had over how do we extend the Canvas contract? Same kind of thing. They just couldn't use whatever vehicle.
That was all meant to be caught.
Yeah. So they have to, if we weren't on recording, I'd say figure out a different loophole, but. They just have to restructure that, and there may be cost impacts.
Oh, they went, okay.
Just.
Not to us. I'm done. There was a very extensive update with CTC Link, but basically, Christy Campbell was on our meeting, and she goes through the various gates and where we are. And you've heard Tacoma's where to go in October, and that the State Board of Clark are ready. They got through some milestones with the Charter of Accounts, so they're on schedule as of July.
That's good news.
There's so much. There's a lot.
Okay.
And now that you're recording, I'm done.
Thank you for sharing, appreciate it.
That's really fun.
Thank you. Okay. We're gonna move into, and I see some people getting up to take a stretch, which is totally fine. We only have really a 2-hour morning session, so rather than scheduling a break-in, you need to get up, please do so. I want to make sure we get through our morning session. We might be able to end a little bit early this morning. Well, let's see, I see people getting up, so how about just 5 minutes? 5-minute break, 5-minute break. 11:35, we'll return promptly at 11:35. Hi, I'm Will. Yes, oh yes, absolutely. Oh, yeah. I'm still trying to look at
I'm gonna take a picture, and please. Off and on really bad. So we get in and out of the kayak, like jump around. Yeah. So I had exercise yesterday, and okay,
I didn't tell you what you How you doing?
Right.
I said,
yes.
Well, I think it's
Here, I usually
yeah.
You know, it's
Yeah.
And then Fridays after.
Too hard. It used to be different. It used to be more to it.
They're doing it in the course level, so we don't have to. So we got to add that. We added.
Yes.
And after the year, we have to
So did they reinstate So they had this in February. Right when the time we were so now we need to it's crazy. It's insane.
As I was thinking about so I was on IC because the president says
Exactly.
Joel, yes, I'm trying not to be
Oh, no. I won't tell you there.
I have some demographic.
Oh, nice. I love that. That's,
I don't say they're data.
just demographics. Yeah, okay. Got it.
Ray.
Yes. Yeah, you're trying to pass the update.
I was thinking when you said though about July, I thought you were having a contest.
Dickies, you gotta give me a hug.
I would, but I don't know if it's like blade. Right. Especially if I take my shoes off first. Yeah.
I was just instruction out on well, you know, most of the we couldn't find anything else. We don't have to hug you.
You know what I came in, I'm like, I'm going to go. Oh, no.
I wanted the ball for somewhere in the desert face down.
Okay, please make your way back to your seats. We are going to begin again.
And yeah, 9 years.
Oh, congratulations. I'll see you there for 4 before then.
Well, your voice is really good. Yeah, good conversation.
Yeah, you need gathers. Oh, I would just yell at him. Yeah.
You know what?
They were at the
You can say,
instructional design. Play it and put it in the microphone.
Lunch is free.
We're going to get started. Martin.
Mark, you want to start your update?
All right, thank you, everyone. Martin is going to jump in and give us a treasurer's report, and we appreciate that. And Chris, are we still using the owl for mics?
Yeah, we can pass out the mics though. They've had a minute to charge.
You want to give one to Martin then?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. The anticipation.
I'm Martin, and I am your treasurer.
Woo!
Yay!
We appreciate you.
Yes. Okay, so we had transitioned out the ELC account is now at Olympic College.
Hey, Martin, I think your mic's actually turned off.
It's flashing red like it's off.
Is that better? Okay. This seems like speed. Okay, so it's green now, so it's working. Green is that's red again.
Green means go.
I'm holding. Do I keep holding it or no? Do I just hold it once?
It's red right now. No, you just do it once. You keep pushing it. Yeah, you're turning it on and off repeatedly.
Yeah, I've had to have my license. That's a good song.
Just talk loudly, go ahead.
I'm just gonna leave that alone. So, we have, I've like refreshed the budget documents for this, current year. And Tim has now linked those in the website under budget. Thank you, Tim. The same is true of the membership information, so I'll talk about both of those in a second. I appreciate your patience as we transition. Dawn Pauly was an amazing mentor in terms of just getting up on my feet. And, but I'm a knucklehead, so it took, me a little while to get sort of going on this. I guess the first thing I'll talk about is a membership. So if you haven't already, you need to go to the membership area of the ELC website and update your membership information for this coming year. So that means essentially letting us know who the voting member is, voting representative from your college, and who are the additional members that you'll be sending to meetings. That's how we determine what you pay as your annual fee. So it's $175 per seat at the table, essentially, for the meetings, okay? So you could have a pool of 5 people that go to meetings, and if you only send 2 at a time, then you pay $350, right? Not 5 times 175, whatever that is. So you need to just fill that out. There's at the top of that spreadsheet, you'll see a link to an online pay portal that our college has set up. It's supposed to be very easy to use, although I'm finding that it seems like everyone has had success except Lisa, so I'm not sure what's going on. We'll try to iron that. Has anybody else not been successful using the pay portal? Okay. All right, so we'll see if there's something broken on our end that's preventing Lisa from using it, but it should be pretty straightforward. Just enter your purchasing card account information, and it processes it right there. Your college will probably also want an 819 form filled out for that purchase. And I sent that in an email. Those things, one thing that hasn't changed on the website yet is I haven't had a chance to work on the actual kind of the script or whatever that's below the spreadsheet. So it's still old, doesn't have the right links yet as far as I know, unless Tim changed them. So I still need to work on that. But I did send an email with it. I can send it again. I can probably put it in the meeting agenda or something if you want to find it there. But there's a link to the 819.
It's on there. I haven't put any verbiage there, but at least the links are there in the appropriate place.
Oh, the links are there.
I just put them in about an hour ago, so they're there.
Oh, thanks, Tim. Okay, awesome. Thank you. Yeah. So you'll find, if you're a hosting college, you'll find an for all of the expenses associated with hosting. Peninsula, Vicky, wherever you are. There you go. Okay. I think I sent that to you, but and then if you're going to be updating your membership information and paying your annual fee, you may want the other invoice voucher that's so that your expense your college. Okay. What else? Any questions about membership? So as you're paying, as I find out that you paid, I'm updating my information to note that we now have that money. I do receive a receipt when you use the online pay. You can actually do it the old-fashioned way as well and call for a check and send. As far as the budget goes, I'm just kind of getting to know it. I'm actually pretty new to ELC too. What I see from looking at the budget from last year, so what Dawn told me is kind of a hard line drawn between the WAC conference and the actual sort of ELC budget associated with your membership fees and meeting expenses and the ELC award, right? The learning award. Innovation, sorry. And the budget it just says EL award. So so there's some of those things on the other side. When I look at budget, just looking at last year, and so we may want to have a discussion about this unless this year's kind of anomalous, but it looks like for the WAC conference, I assumed it was revenue neutral, but it's not. So as of last year, we spent $6,000 more than we took in revenue from the conference. So that's probably not sustainable, but so we may want to think about what to do about that.
We wanted that.
What's that?
That was by design.
Yeah.
That's by design, okay.
Yeah, because we had taken in too much money the last time, so we
Okay.
spent more than we made. Yeah,
Sure,
so
so-
it should have gone into some of the reserves, is that the case?
Yeah, so the
Okay.
way that it's, the way I'm speaking about it is I use the same, so I don't have anything to base our budget, the ELC budget on, other than last year's budget. So, we can certainly we are definitely taking in more money than we need on what I'm calling the other side. So the fees associated, where we can move some money over to the WAC side if we want to sort of supplement that if we think we're gonna run, $6,000 or whatever, kind of in terms of putting that in every year. That's okay as long as we want to move that money over. We know we want to do it. It's just not indicated as such in the budget right now. So but I'm not, that's up to the council. I'm just trying to interpret the budgets as I see them. Yeah.
And I am, right now, FYI, I was using last year's budget kind of for meeting budget as a benchmark.
Yeah.
I am a more than $200, almost $300 under.
Okay.
Under that for this meeting,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, the budget is, thank you.
Think we're good.
Yeah, we're good. The budget, the meeting expense is like $1,600 per quarterly meeting. When I looked at some from last year, they were sometimes over that, but maybe can be under, so I just left that amount the same. So basically the budget, I just kept it the same as last year. If we want to move some money over kind of every year to the WAC conference to supplement that revenue that comes in, that's fine.
And we shouldn't need to, we'll increase the rate, the registration rate, if we have to keep stable, but it looks like we've got $12,000 still excess, is that right?
That's also by design because we
Yeah.
have to pay the food vendor upfront, and the cost for food
So you know, cover.
are like $25,000, so they expect at least like half upfront, so we need to have that to
so
do
that's-
that.
Yeah, we do have that, and it's sort of being drawn down slowly. So last year, the opening balance for the WAC conference was 15,000 something. This year is 12,000 something.
Yeah.
Just letting you know that.
Cool, thank you so much, yeah.
Any questions?
Questions for Martin?
So the main thing for you right now is just do get that payment in if you can. Otherwise, you'll start to get sort of harassing emails from me saying, you did that, you did that.
So I tried to go to the members page and it's not coming up for me.
And there's a page in opening. Let's see.
Oh, there it is.
It may just be slow.
Slow, yeah.
Well, yeah, so I refreshed and it came up right away, so there was some
Okay.
kind of problem. And I don't know if you know it, but we paid twice last year. Do you have that? Oh, we can talk about it.
Okay, yeah, I didn't know that.
Why would you do that, Jerry?
Because, we got those tickets different places, and so, or something, or they were
This
separate.
sounds like a
I don't know.
scam.
Yeah.
It's always Jerry.
I know, new treasurer, we paid twice.
Any other questions for Martin? Martin, you opened with, by the way, you definitely have our patience. You asked for that when you started. And we thank you very much for taking on this role. We know it's a big ask and you need it to be able to function. I can't say thank you enough.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Okay. Next item on the list, and we're getting pretty close to time, so Mark, I'm not sure exactly how much time you need. I know you're going to not need as much as you thought. So Mark, I'll kick it off to you, but we only have about 10 minutes before lunch.
Well, no, I didn't need the half hour. Mary was talking about rambling. I don't think anybody rambles like I do. So what I'm going to talk about is, some of you may remember, some may not. There's no real reason you would. But over the last couple meetings, I've been talking about two separate kind of concepts, almost as if they were the same. One, we were talking about governance earlier. Well, one new piece of governance that's kind of emerging into our space are these cross-functional groups, like the Guided Pathways Advisory Committee, where we discovered the silos of normal system governance don't work that well. Well, the one that is most important maybe to this group, potentially, is the Strategic Technology Planning Committee, which is going to start writing a new strategic tech plan for the system, but it's also going to build in some governance structures. It used to be, if you wanted a piece of technology like Campus CD, it'd be just like, well, write a letter to WAC Tech and wait for them to say yes or no. Well, what this committee's trying to do is imagine what technology governance and procurement, things like that will look for after the CTC Link project is over. CTC Link has a very elaborate governance structure. System-wide IT does not. And so this committee's trying to build that up. Well, one of the things I wanted to make sure, I'm on that committee, as well as 2 reps from every commission. That's how that committee's staffed. One of the things I wanted to make sure was that our area of educational technology had a voice in strategic technology governance and planning, and that it was a voice that was came from all our stakeholder groups, the Library Leadership Council, ITC to some extent, and this group in particular. And the idea is maybe make our case for a role in the strategic tech plan and make sure the language from our priorities and needs gets there. One of the spin-offs of that idea was to expand the way we buy products, because usually the way we buy products, like for ed tech, is very different than IT. Well, the way we do it is we'll say, hey, we'll get a really good deal on Canvas and we'll make it so irresistible that all of you sign up voluntarily. That's not an, I'm going to stand up, you know, that's not a real IT way of doing things. But it works. It works well. But the flip side of that is that when you guys come and say, well, how about a plagiarism tool or a proctoring tool, the answer's always been no. And to remind you of this concept, what I wanted to do is start saying yes to that. But rather than saying, okay, well, we're going to get one proctoring tool, everybody in the system is going to use it or they're on their own, what we want to do is put together a system-wide vetted application store so that we can go make contracts with multiple vendors, do some preliminary vetting of those tools for accessibility, for security, equity concerns, and kind of put the EdTech advisory group stamp of approval on those products, put those contracts in our app store, and you can go buy off them as convenience contracts. So that's the kind of operational side of the EdTech advisory group. So currently that advisory group is 4 ELC members, well, 3, but that's another question. Should be 4 ELC members, 3 LLC members, and 2 ITC members. We've had 1 meeting, and we kind of went into abeyance for the summer because my big goal was to get the EdTech advisory group to have a direct report to the Strategic Technology Planning Committee. And that was on WAC's agenda in June. They didn't get to it. So right now we're kind of in limbo. We think that's going to happen. I would bet that it's going to happen. That will give us a reporting relationship to Strategic Tech Governance, which has a direct report to WAC. What that means is that there's a regularized way from hopefully in the future to make recommendations that come from the EdTech community and go to WAC. So if it needs to be a system body, we know how to do that. We know how to think about it. We know who's going to sign off on those things up the chain. Because what I noticed in the continuing ed RFP is there's nothing like that, and it leads to chaos. It leads to failed RFPs. It leads to all kinds of nuttiness. So when we get together again in the fall, we're going to sit down and make a charter. I want to clarify that the point of the EdTech advisory group is not to replace any of the work of the councils, but to have a more regular way to talk to the councils and get input from the councils and to do research for the councils and basically really codify the priorities and needs of ELC, LLC, and ITC around educational technology. So I'm going to stop there because that's, you can tell I love this kind of wonky org chart stuff, and I know not everybody does, but are there any questions to this point? Yes.
So there's a strategic technology planning committee and an EdTech advisory group.
Yeah, so it would be, if I had a whiteboard, it would be strategic tech.
Does anyone have a?
And there it is. It's really too simple to whiteboard. so WAC Tech on top,
Okay.
strategic tech committee right underneath, and it's staffed by vice presidents from all the commissions. And underneath it, underneath the strategic tech committee, I'm really waving the flag to get two groups to report to the strategic tech committee. One will be CATO, the Committee for Accessible Technology Oversight, and the other will be the Ed Tech Advisory Group. And that's the way I see this working. Why does it make sense to do that? Well, again, they're cross-functional groups. It didn't make a lot of sense for Ed Tech Advisory to report to a commission like either instruction or IT. Doesn't make sense for CATO to report to ITC, though that was discussed. But this cross-functional setting, I think it does make sense for those committees to report up to WAC Tech through that. So we're going to really get going building our charter and things in the fall. The current members are from ELC, are Colbert, Mark, and Christopher. We need one more, and that's my ask today. You don't have to do it today, Patrick, but I need one more representative for the Ed Tech Advisory Group. In the fall, we're going to build the charter. We're going to have 4 representatives from ELC, and we're going to figure out how to name a college co-chair. I'm going to function as kind of a state board staff co-chair, but for that group to function, I need a college person to co-chair it. Yeah. You want to be on that group? It's up to you guys how you make that choice.
Okay, we'll make sure we get you someone. Yeah.
Any more questions?
The membership, you'd say one from every commission. So you have instruction?
No, the one from every commission is on the strategic tech committee, and there's actually 2 from every commission. So there's 2 from ITC, the Smith's chair.
Yeah. What about instruction and student?
Yes.
Do you know what those are?
I don't have the second instruction commission person in my head. Charlie Crawford is one of them. Tammy is gone from that. So, and I don't think they replaced her, Tammy Franklin. And yeah, Charlie Crawford is one of them. I can't think of who the student service.
I just think it's such a great idea. We have to help this come to fruition and support it, because this is going to help us move technology and other things around accessibility where we just can't do it as a system. I see this as the vehicle. We've been trying to do it for, I don't know, I've been in the system 20 years. We've been trying at least 6 that I know of that I've been a part of to get this to happen. So please let us know, and I mean, Eva I know is there, but let us know how we can help, because we need to talk to our presidents, whatever it is, to get this going.
Yeah, and like I said, one good thing, this will give you guys an opportunity to feed information about what you think should be the ed tech priorities, strategic priorities for the next 5 years or so. And what I would hope, what I would imagine, how you do it is up to you. What I would imagine is that ELC would have a discussion like that, LLC would have a discussion like that. Your ed tech advisory group people would gather that information and process it and make a recommendation up to the strategic tech group. And it's the same with accessibility. We don't want people just sitting around the table going, what's a good strategic statement about accessibility? We want to draw on people who are working in the area and thinking about it every day and making those recommendations so that we have the right language. We don't get strategic tech plans in the system very often. The last one was
glossy.
The last one was 2007. And so this is a big opportunity to really drive the way the state board thinks about technology and drive the way WAC Tech thinks about technology for the next few years, probably. So, yeah, your reps, like I say, currently Clavera, Chris, and Mark, and I'd like you to name another one. And when they do report outs, hopefully we integrate an ed tech advisory group report out into this meeting every time. So, and now that I have Kamala's endorsement for the whole concept, I'm feeling pretty good about myself.
It's just like what we talked about, integrated planning. The instructional commission gets together, they have a subgroup that works on these technology initiatives. The student affairs group gets together, IT gets together, you get together, and then we all sit back and we try to approve our plans. And then we need money, we need the presidents to buy in, and it's just chaos. The government structure is chaos.
And the cherry on top will be the App Store and a million.
Yeah, and the vendors will stop sticking it to us by all trying these tools independently.
And we will hope that we'll have the ed tech advisory group will seek your advisement on what those rubrics need to look like. Well, what do you want to know about accessibility? Given we can't do a comprehensive test of every product, what would make you feel secure in making a purchase that that you usually can't do yourself on your campuses. We hope the tech advisor here will play a role in gathering and vetting that information.
The other thing I would say to this too is, as being a system of 34 colleges, we also put pressure on the vendors to meet that accessibility compliance, right? We're not gonna buy your product until you meet a certain standard. So, it's great.
Thank you. For sharing. Oh, go ahead, question?
Sorry, quick question. I keep hearing two names and missing one. So I've got Claver, Jeremy now, Mark, and who's the other member? Thank you. All right. I don't know why I've never heard Chris for some reason. Okay, thank you.
Thanks for sharing that, Mark. We'll, to your point, we'll make sure to get that on our agenda in terms of updates from that group and incorporate it into what we do forward. Before we dismiss for lunch, any questions for Mark that you think you've asked? Okay, go ahead.
No, I'm also just around it. I don't be here today, so if you have questions, talk to me, talk to Mark, talk to Chris. They all have the same information.
Great.
Unrelated to that.
Yes.
If anybody works to support a prison, their college, could you come speak with me briefly?
We were just there last week.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
You'll have some lunch mates.
yeah.
Okay. Before we dismiss, Vicky, can you remind us about any lunch details?
Just the Longhouse, down the stairs, turn right, go out until you see the Longhouse. There's a big totem and that's where we're eating lunch. We'll be there until 1. We're gonna move this, we actually are gonna open this up. So hopefully after lunch, maybe we can do some commingling. We'll have a couple of tables. And our friends will be meeting with this LCC group, library leadership. So there's some empty chairs in here, and we're going to put a couple of chairs on the other side of the divider, or a couple of tables. Let's all mingle and make friends, make new friends.
Do you leave our stuff here?
Yes, I have a key.
You can leave your stuff here. It'll be locked.
You can leave your stuff here. I'll lock it all up.
Dismiss.
You can leave the donuts. They will not be disturbed.
Back at 1?
Back at 12:55.
Can I just technology before I leave? Not that I want you to.
Just glad iTunes.
You can write that. Yeah. Is the picture that I recorded?
Oh, yeah, stop the recording.
Stop the recording.
Yeah, just hit stop.
Just hit stop.
Just open up Zoom and hit stop. That's all.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what I was
Welcome to Washington State Board of Community Education.
She's the one that got me to look.
Yeah,
well, that's gimmicky because what it does is it just looks at first two choices. Awesome, yeah.
Yeah.
Just an interface.
Yeah.